Chancellor, Senate has resolved to confer the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, Honoris Causa, upon Atifete Jahjaga.
Chancellor, it is a great privilege to stand here today in the splendor of Durham Cathedral and propose Madam Atifete Jahjaga, President of Kosovo, for an honorary doctorate in civil law. There are many reasons for awarding President Jahjaga this honor, but perhaps the most important in the context of today's continuing gender inequality is that she is the first female president of the Republic of Kosovo and the first female head of state in the modern Balkans. She is also the first woman in Southeast Europe to reach the rank of Lieutenant Colonel General, underlining both the President's extraordinary qualities and Kosovo's willingness to reward talent regardless of gender. This takes on added significance when we consider that currently only 16, yesterday it was 17, but one has been deposed since, only 16, just over 8% of internationally recognized heads of state are women. President Jahjaga was born in Raškog, Jagova, in southwest of Kosovo, near the Albanian border. During the Kosovo War of 1999, following a pattern seen across the country, the majority of the Kosovar Albanian population was expelled by the Serbian forces stationed there, and the atrocities committed by these forces featured heavily in the indictment for war crimes against the then President Slobodan Milosevic for the wars he incited in former Yugoslavia. During the war, the President was a student, and she remained in Kosovo throughout the conflict. President Jahjaga read law at the University of Pristina, where she graduated in 2000. During the course of her career as a police officer, she studied police management and penal law at the University of Leicester and crime science at the University of Virginia. She participated in professional training courses at the George Marshall European Center for Security Studies in Germany and the FBI National Academy in the United States, among others. Following the Kosovo War, President Jahjaga was an interpreter for the international police force stationed in the country. Once she completed her police training, she became an officer and gradually rose through the ranks. She began as a special assistant to the UN Deputy Commissioner, helping to set up the administrative pillar of the Kosovo police force, before becoming an officer with the border police and moving to the police training department. She became deputy director of the Kosovo police in 2009, a year after independence, and served briefly as acting director in 2010. During this time, the President advanced the role of women and established the basis of the Association of Women Officers in the police force, while guiding the important transition of competences from the international police to the local police force, and participating in drafting the relevant legislation. Within the 5 years since independence, the newly established Kosovo police has become one of Kosovo's most respected institutions, serving as an example of successful post-conflict reconstruction across the region and globally. In 2011, President Jahjaga was put forward as the consensus presidential candidate by a broad coalition of political parties. Famously, she became the first president to be elected in the first round of voting. She was known for her integrity and clean record during her time in the Kosovo police and her public service in general. But perhaps even more important was the fact that she had had no political ambitions prior to being nominated. In her post-election address, she told the Kosovo Assembly, "Until yesterday, I had no thought of assuming a senior post of political leadership. But, like many of my fellow citizens, I was ready to serve when called by my country." In a world of vociferous and often destructive political ambitions, it is refreshing to have a president who did not actively seek to become president. Equally inspirational is that neither she nor her husband own real estate, instead renting a modest apartment in Pristina. In this, the President brings to mind an image from my own country, the Netherlands. Popular myth has it that when US Secretary of State George Marshall visited the Netherlands in the aftermath of the Second World War to discuss the Marshall Plan, he was so struck by the modest house the Dutch Prime Minister lived in that he cancelled the scheduled talks on the grounds that a country which had such a frugal Prime Minister could be trusted to spend American money wisely. Since taking office, President Jahjaga has sought to strengthen the democratic institutions of the country she has helped to build, and to secure international recognition for Kosovo. She has sought to secure membership in the European Union and the United Nations, and contributed to changing Kosovo's image abroad, normalizing relations with Kosovo's neighboring states and countries. She has set up a high-level National Council on European integration and has ensured that any new legislation passed is in line with European practices and standards. She has formed a National Anti-Corruption Council, led by the President herself, to prevent and combat corruption across the country. Under her leadership, Kosovo organized the first Women in Politics conference, bringing together women from around the globe to seek solutions to issues facing women, including economic empowerment and political participation. Particularly significant in the context of this cathedral and our former bishop's interest, and indeed our university's interest, in interfaith relations, she has worked hard to build bridges between Kosovo's various ethnic communities. As president of a predominantly Muslim country, she has been very active in interfaith dialogue, and she was the first head of state to visit Dekani Monastery, an important pilgrimage site for the Serb Orthodox Church, to celebrate Easter. In awarding this degree, we wish to honor the President for her tireless service to her country and for the example she sets of public service. We wish to honor her as the first female President of Kosovo and as the highest-ranking policewoman in Southeast Europe. But through honoring her, we would also wish to honor the country of Kosovo for the way it has re-emerged from the rubble of the Kosovo War and transformed itself into a beacon of hope. Chancellor, I present Madam Atifete Jahjaga to receive the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, Honoris Causa.
Atifete Jahjaga, by the authority of Durham University, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, Honoris Causa.